Hello and welcome to Produce Talks, the CPMA podcast. I am your host and CPMA Education Manager, Jason Gorley. This month on the podcast, we are turning the microphone over once again, this time to Jane Proctor, Vice President of Policy and Issue Management at CPMA, with more women taking on senior roles in the industry and the increase of female participation in our own Passion for Produce program. This kind of indicates a fundamental shift in some of the demographics in the industry. We've gathered together a small group of women to reflect on their different experiences and what the future of the industry looks like for young women entering it today. I will turn over the podcast to Jane.
All right, hello everyone. First, before we get formally started with our questions, I'd like to take the time to thank everyone for being on Produce Talks, with this particular episode being focused on women in produce. So my name is Jane Proctor. I am the Vice President of Policy and Issue Management here at CPMA. And maybe what we'll do is we'll start west and kind of move east.
My name is Santiago, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of the Little Potato Company.
Stephanie LaRiviere. I'm in sales and the regulatory manager for Erie James Limited and Sensation Acres, Inc.
I'm Bernadette Hamel, Vice President of National Procurement for Metro Richelieu, Inc.
Beth, Pattillo, King's Produce. I handle marketing there, but also for one of our subsidiaries, Noggins Corner Farm, I handle all the agritourism and regulatory issues.
Great, thanks, guys. So what we'll start then really is asking all of you to share a little bit about what your career path has been in produce.
Well, let's see now. I began at the University of Guelph in microbiology, and it's been a bit of a convoluted trail to produce. I probably landed in produce about roughly 20 years ago when I began with the Nova Scotia Fruit Growers Association as their executive director, and spent some time there, and then went to Scotian Gold, and then on to King's Produce and Noggins Corner Farm, where I've been heavily involved in produce from there. So it's been a bit of a circuitous route. In between there, I worked for Kobe Foods in sales and marketing, doing frozen food, that type of thing.
Well, glad to have you back in produce. Okay, Bernadette, maybe you could talk to us a little bit about your path.
Well, I've been in produce all my life. I started out as a part-time job while going to school at the age of 14. I moved on later on to become part owner in a produce store that was really just seasonal. So I was lucky enough to spend some winters in Florida at that young age. And then I came back to reality, and I was first hired at Metro as a very junior buyer. And I worked my way up through the years to become vice president of the division.
Wonderful. Stephanie, on to you.
Okay, well, produce literally is in my blood on both sides. My father's father came over from Italy. My dad came over on the boat when he was 4, and they were growing field tomatoes and some orchard fruit here in Leamington. And my mother's father was a marketer at Erie James Limited, actually selling my other grandfather's produce. And so early memories for me as a child were either spent in the field tomatoes, picking tomatoes and bringing them in on the truck over to Erie James to sell. At age 15, I started working, putting myself through school, using my summers to pack potatoes on the line and work in the warehouse. Over the years, as I got into university, I majored in management and ended up back at the family company in accounting, inventory control, eventually came up into sales. And with my bachelor's degree, I have an honors degree, double degree actually, one in management and business commerce and the other in arts, language, and literature, kind of made me a shoe-in for all of the regulatory affairs things that I'm into now. So it's been a long, very prosperous ride for me. It's been challenging, but I couldn't ask for a better industry to work in.
Great. And Angela, finally, over to you.
Well, my foray into produce started 20 years ago when my dad and I started the Little Potato Company together. My formal education absolutely has nothing to do with agriculture or produce. I have a degree in business, political science, and history, so I have learned on the job. So I always say I came into produce by accident, but I stay in it on purpose.
That's an excellent way of putting it. So now I'm going to go back to Bernadette, and I'm going to ask Bernadette to start off. You've been in the industry literally all your life. In your opinion, and we know that things have changed over the years, but is there now or has there ever been what we would call a glass ceiling in the produce industry? And if you would say yes to that, has that changed over the years you've been in the industry?
Well, since I made it through, I just have to say that, yes, there's been times in my career where I was sorely disappointed when a promotion would go somewhere else, and I thought in my mind that I could have been the right person for that job. I had 15 wonderful years at Metro, and I left for 2 years, and I came back after 2 years, and I would say that after that short time away, when I came back, it just seemed to flow easier for me. I was given a lot more opportunities, and I don't know, sometimes you have to walk away and then come back at it refreshed and just start all over. I think the glass ceiling is there in your mind, but I don't think that there really is a glass ceiling. In my mind, you just keep on, if you have an objective and you have a goal and you really think that you have the potential to achieve that goal, well, the only thing you can do is just believe in yourself, work hard, and I think that eventually it will happen. But you can't get discouraged and just say, oh, you know, this isn't going to work, because I think that it's very important to always think positive and to believe in yourself and just give it all your energy and just go for it.
Others, would you like to add to anything that Bernadette has said or talk about your own experiences or what your thoughts are around that?
Well, I really liked what Bernadette said about it's what you think. If you think there's a glass ceiling, there is one. You know, I feel so grateful that my parents raised, I have 2 younger brothers, and I use the word gender neutral, and I don't know if that's really the right word, but there was never a segregation of duties in our family in terms of what was my chores at home or my brother's chores at home. My dad taught me a trade, taught me drywall and painting and taping. So I grew up never thinking I couldn't do something because I was a woman. It was never spoken in the house. I've never believed there was a glass ceiling. I really believe if you put your mind to it and you go for it and don't give up, you can go as far as you want.
Well, I think one of the things I will say is that I'm part of a family farm that I think most folks would probably think is, you know, male-dominated. It isn't. You know, probably 3 top managers are all female. I think I'd echo Bernadette's, you know, in my experience, I think I'd echo Bernadette's in the fact that it's all about your approach and it's about being positive and it's about saying, okay, this is what I want to do and I'm going to go do it. In produce, it's more about who you are and it's about your work ethic. It's about, you know, is your handshake valid? It's not about a glass ceiling, I don't think.
If the door of opportunity knocks, kick it open. So if you do encounter the glass ceiling, coming from a small town, very multicultural, where many of the folks here are 2nd or 3rd generation, handed down from grandfather to father to son, if you do encounter the glass ceiling, the thing about it is glass, and it can be busted. Absolutely, don't give up. If anything, you should treat everybody in industry that you meet as equally important and with equal respect, no matter what their title is, because tomorrow they might be the very contact that you need to succeed in your endeavors. People move across industry all the time.
I think for the people that listen to this podcast, all the comments that the 4 of you made from a very diverse parts of the supply chain, diverse experiences, will resonate in a very, very positive way, especially with young women, because it's great to hear the very positive attitudes that even if there was any perceived impediments or not, that certainly that's brought you along in your careers, and that's such a powerful message. Both Bernadette and Beth, who have been past CPMA chairs, I'm going to ask you a little bit about basically what was your experience like? Did you feel any difference in taking on the role, and what was your experience like over the course of your chairmanship?
Okay. As far as it being mostly male leadership, it never crossed my mind. It was never like, well, I was proud. I was happy to be a woman in that position. I was happy that I think that it gives other women the hope and the knowledge that, you know what, they can do it. When I took over that role, it wasn't like, wow. It was more, wow, I'm so happy that I got there. And I'm so thankful that my company let me go that far, because you also have to have your company that backs you to say, okay, you can do it, because it is time consuming.
Oh, it is.
It is. It's a lot. I was a little bit stressed because you always hope that in the industry there won't be some catastrophe that you're going to have to address. But you know what? We're so lucky because we have all of you guys there behind us, really working with us and helping us through it all. So it was a great experience. I really learned a lot from it. It showed me a different aspect of working in the industry, all the problems that can be faced in the day-to-day working with the produce industry. But to say that it was like, did it intimidate me that it was mostly men before? Not at all. I feel that being in that position, I kind of earned my wings, and that if I got there, it's because everyone was thinking that I could do the job. I had fun. I did. It was a great experience. It was, you always hope that it'll be the best, and I think every year it's always getting better. And it went by so fast, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
And also, I think you had a great team burning around you.
My goodness, like all my peers have been CPMA chairmen, so I had all the support that I needed within my own company and within my own team here. All of my directors, everyone pitched in, and they all gave it their best effort, and I think it was a good result.
And I am briefly interrupting this conversation because we have to make time for a sponsor. So we're checking in again once more with Ray from Nature Fresh. Ray, what's happening at Nature Fresh?
Well, the Greenhouse Education Center has finally made its debut in Southern Ontario, the Greater Toronto area, Niagara Falls. We had a wonderful time visiting with consumers down in that area at the Loblaws chain. Presently, right now, we're touring northeastern United States, but soon we'll be back in Southern Ontario to visit the local community. The greenhouse category, our farms now are producing in very high volume. Excellent opportunity for our partners out there to promote locally grown Ontario product as well as Canadian products. Our growers in particular are finding an abundance of product coming on now because of the summer-like weather that we're experiencing now. So all great. Consumers and partners should be able to find an abundance of very good quality greenhouse-grown product.
And now back to the podcast.
And Beth, so I'm going to ask you, and you were our first female chair after many, 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 many years of male leadership. So tell us a little bit about your experience and what you thought coming into that role.
I can still remember the day that Danny phoned me and said, we would like you to consider putting your name, beginning the process to go up to chair. And I can remember saying to him, putting down the phone and going, holy crap. And I said, I think maybe, Danny, I might need 24 hours to think about this one. So I went back to Danny and said, okay, if you guys feel that a small grower shipper from Nova Scotia can do this, then I'm willing to give her a try. And like Bernadette, it was an absolutely awesome experience. By the end of the year, I was absolutely worn out because it took a great deal of time, but an experience I've never regretted. There was lots of support. There were some incredible challenges through the year that I was chair, but that's all part of it. I'd always figured that, the first female coming forward and being from a small province, a small grower shipper, that somebody at the AGM would stand up and say, there's no friggin' way this woman's getting there. Forget it. Never happened. But, yeah, it was an incredible learning experience. I met some absolutely delightful people across this country and across the U.S., and I think it's an experience I will always be forever grateful for because it made me a better person, taught me so much.
Both of you, during your leadership, contributed enormously to the association. You've set an example, and you both set the bar very high for people that will come after you. Now, Beth, I'm going to stay with you. We all are, and certainly all four of you on the call are in high-stress environments. We know there's lots of travel involved. We know there's long hours. We know there's seasonality issues that can have dramatic impact on your day. How do you keep motivated and keep on the straight and narrow in a very high-stress environment and balancing that work-life balance in your own lives?
There have been years when I have done it very poorly, and there are times when I've done it well. I think at this point I've kind of reached somewhere where I'm pretty comfortable with it. I have to walk at least 45 minutes a day. That's my stress release, whether it's morning, whenever there is that window of opportunity, I have to take that because that is my stress release. If I don't get it, then I don't do as well in a work day as I should. And I know that's selfish to take 45 minutes, but I do take that 45 minutes and I do go for a walk. The woods below my house probably have more secrets than anybody could ever tell because that's where I think about things, I talk about things, but that's how I keep my balance. It's not easy, and it wasn't easy earlier on in my life to get that work-life balance. I tend to be a bit of a workaholic, and I have had to learn to back it off. The fact that I said to CGM that I'm announcing my retirement was probably one of the biggest hurdles I've overcome in a long, long time, but I did. So it's not been easy, and sometimes in our lives it works and sometimes it doesn't, but I think the only thing I would say to everybody is the most important thing is you do have to take time for yourself, because if you don't, then the consequences for everybody down the road are not pretty.
And just as a note for people listening, Beth referred to CGM. That's our Government Relations Committee. Stephanie, maybe you'd like to add your perspective?
Well, Jane, there's this little-known secret that almost anything that you unplug will work again. And so like my computer or anything else, the fax machine that's acting up, I need to unplug. And to do that, I'm just like Beth. I need to spend as much time as I can out in nature, and for me it's by the water. So you'll find me spending time by the water or outside, again, walking in nature or reading or getting into art and music. And I love to travel. So for me, I unplug by picking up and going somewhere that I've never been. I really feel that for those of us that are fortunate enough that get the opportunity to travel, whether it's for business or whether it's for pleasure, that, travel is really the only thing that we can buy with our money that makes us richer.
Angela, maybe we'll go to you next.
Yes, so balance. It's come through trial and error and often hitting many walls. And I have experienced, too, where I think I've got it, and then you have weeks and days and months where you don't, and you're completely off balance. So one of the things that I did was to make it visual for myself is I did sort of a balance, or if you want to say a vision board, and I have 4 buckets on it that represent different parts of my life. So personal, business, my marriage, and then my family. And I walk by it every day, and it's a reminder just to quickly stop and go, okay, what level are each of my buckets at and which one needs some filling? Because I learned the hard way when one of those buckets got completely depleted, it spells disaster. And so that was a health concern for me. So I'm very much more aware of where the balance is in my life, and I've learned that it takes planning and it takes intention. Balance doesn't just happen. It has to be with intent. So now I make sure that I have time with my family, my husband, and I do time with my work, but I also make time for myself now.
Bernadette, how about you?
Well, to tell you the truth, the high stress keeps me motivated. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I come in and it's like a quiet day, and it's as though I can't seem to get focused on anything or get anything done because it's missing that adrenaline, and I get motivated by being under pressure. I enjoy this. I haven't got any children. I have a huge family which I'm with all the time, but I have a very happy private life, and at work I enjoy myself. So for me, I've never had a question of how am I going to balance my work with my personal time, because to tell you the truth, it always intertwines, because as much as I'd love to say that I put all my switches on off, I don't. When I get home, if I know that I left and there's been a problem, I'll touch base with my people on the weekend, because my people, the buyers in that, we don't stop. I remember when I was a buyer, it was like 7 days, because if you have a load that's rejected, you have to replace it. Otherwise, you have your stores that will be short. So you know, when I know that there's problems in some kind of an item and I know my team is working on it over the weekend, I just want them to know that I'm thinking about them too. So I give them a call and say, hey, how's it going? And, you know, I think that it's important because it's not true when you work for, and it might be the same in all of your industries, but when you work for a chain store, when you leave on Friday night and even during the week, the switch isn't off, unfortunately, because you have to be able to take care of your store's needs. So a load rejected at night during the week, the buyer's aware of it, they get a call, then they can call someone to replace it or make sure that a truck that's rolling gets in here on time. So I'd be lying to say that it's easy to balance the two. It isn't, but when you love it, it's not a problem.
And that's all that we have for you this month on Produce Talks. I'd like to thank Angela, Bernadette, Beth, and Stephanie, and Jane for being part of this month's podcast. It's great to hear from everybody. We'll have part 2 of their conversation next month, and we look forward to it. Before we go, just a reminder that we want to hear from you. You can write us at podcast@cpma.ca. You can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Nobex, or we're now in the Google Play Store, so Android listeners can subscribe as well. Until next time, make a healthy choice. Fill half your plate with fruits and veggies.